The story begins with a man named Will Shaw arriving in Spain to spend a vacation with his family. At the airport, his father Martin greets him warmly, and together they head toward the family villa. During the drive, Will receives a work call. Knowing how much his father dislikes hearing about business during family time, he politely asks for a moment to take the call. Martin says nothing, but the tension between them is obvious. When they arrive at the villa, Will is welcomed by his mother Lori, his younger brother Josh, and Josh's girlfriend Dara. Everyone is excited to be together, and the atmosphere is warm and cheerful. That evening, the family gathers around the dinner table. As they eat, Will and Josh laugh about memories from their childhood and talk about how they were constantly moving from place to place because of Martin's work. Lori watches her family together with obvious happiness. For a while, everything feels normal. The mood changes when Will receives another phone call. This time, the conversation is serious. Everyone notices the expression on his face. After trying to avoid the subject, Will finally admits that his company is collapsing and may not survive. The cheerful atmosphere disappears almost instantly. The table falls silent as the family struggles to process the news. Needing some time alone, Will leaves the room and walks down to the beach. He spends time thinking about the problems waiting for him back home. The next day, the family heads out on their yacht for a sailing trip. Everyone is trying to enjoy themselves, but Will remains distracted. He keeps thinking about work and constantly checks his phone. While he is occupied, the yacht's boom suddenly swings dangerously across the deck. Dara is directly in its path. Will reacts immediately and jumps to protect her. He manages to push her out of the way, but Dara strikes her head against a winch and suffers a painful cut. Although the injury is not life-threatening, it shocks everyone on board. Martin has finally had enough of Will's obsession with work. When the phone rings again, he grabs it from Will's hand and throws it straight into the sea. The argument that follows is loud and emotional. Years of frustration come pouring out from both sides. Furious, Will decides to leave the yacht. He jumps into the water and swims toward shore. Once he reaches land, he heads into town to buy medical supplies for Dara's injury. After picking up antiseptic and other essentials, he stops for a drink and tries to calm himself down while staring out across the water. While Will is in town, Martin remains on the yacht with the rest of the family. As the boat drifts on the water, Martin notices a fast motorboat passing nearby. Something about it catches his attention. The boat circles through the area more than once, and Martin becomes increasingly uneasy. Meanwhile, Will finishes his errands and begins making his way back along the coast. At first, he expects to see the yacht waiting offshore, but as he looks across the water, he realizes something is wrong. The boat is gone. Confused, he searches the beach and asks several people if they have seen his family. Most speak only Spanish, and Will struggles to understand them. Growing more anxious by the minute, he continues looking along the shoreline. Eventually, he spots the yacht drifting alone in the distance. Will manages to reach the vessel and climbs aboard. The yacht is deserted. There is no sign of his parents. The boat has also been disabled, leaving it powerless and abandoned on the water. Panic takes over. Will rushes to the local police station and desperately explains that his family has disappeared. At first, the officers seem uninterested, frustrated. Will keeps pushing until he is finally brought before the station captain. The captain listens carefully when he hears Will's name. Almost immediately, he places a phone call. After the conversation, his attitude changes completely. He tells Will that they will investigate and asks him to come along. Later that night, Will joins several officers as they drive out to continue the search. Instead of finding his family, they arrive at a meeting with a man named Zahir. The stranger claims he knows who Will is and suggests that he may be able to help. Something about the situation feels wrong. Realizing he may have walked into a trap, Will tries to get away. The officers quickly stop him, and a struggle breaks out. In the confusion, Will manages to break free and runs for a nearby police vehicle. He jumps inside, starts the engine, and speeds away into the night. Sirens immediately erupt behind him as police cars give chase. The escape does not last long. The pursuing officers eventually force him off the road. The stolen vehicle crashes, and Will is dragged out. The officers begin beating him. Just when it seems there is no escape, Martin suddenly appears. Will is stunned. He thought his father had vanished along with the rest of the family. Before Will can even ask questions, Martin launches himself at the officers. Moving with skill and precision that Will has never seen before, he quickly takes them down. Once the danger has passed, Will turns to his father in disbelief. The first thing he asks is where the rest of the family is. Martin's expression grows serious. He finally reveals a secret he has kept hidden for years. Martin is a CIA operative. The disappearance of the family was not random. According to Martin, dangerous people are searching for a briefcase connected to one of his recent assignments. He believes those people kidnapped Lori, Josh, and Dara in order to force him to hand it over. Will struggles to accept what he is hearing. Everything he thought he knew about his father suddenly feels like a lie. Martin apologizes repeatedly for dragging the family into a situation that was never supposed to reach them. He promises that he will get them back. Not long afterward, Martin receives word that his CIA team leader, Jean Carrack, wants to meet him. Believing she may have information about the missing briefcase, Martin takes Will to a safe location and then asks him to drive him to the meeting point. As they travel toward Madrid, neither of them realizes that a sniper named Gorman is already watching and waiting from a distance. When they arrive at the meeting point in Madrid, Martin tells Will to remain in the car while he speaks with Carrack. Martin then walks over to meet Carrack. Although she is supposed to be his ally, he does not fully trust her. The situation surrounding the briefcase has become too suspicious. During their conversation, Martin explains that the people who kidnapped his family are demanding the return of the briefcase. Carrack claims she no longer has it, but Martin immediately realizes she is lying. Her answers do not add up, and the more she speaks, the more convinced he becomes that she is hiding something. With no clear solution and time running out, Martin leaves the meeting and starts walking back toward Will's car. Before he can reach it, a sniper round strikes Martin, dropping him instantly. For a moment, Will cannot move. He watches in horror as his father collapses onto the pavement. Then reality hits him, and he rushes from the car toward Martin. As Will reaches him, Gorman lines up another shot. Realizing he is now the next target, Will grabs Martin's phone and gun and runs before the sniper can finish him off. Gunfire erupts around him as Gorman continues firing. Will sprints through the streets, desperately trying to stay alive. While escaping, Martin's phone suddenly rings. Will answers. A voice on the other end immediately asks for Tom. Confused, Will says nothing at first. The caller explains that they have his family and gives him a deadline to produce the briefcase. If he fails, his mother, brother, and Dara will die. The caller also provides a future meeting point where the exchange is supposed to take place. Before Will can learn anything more, the call ends. Now completely alone, he searches for help. Believing the United States Embassy might protect him, he makes his way there and explains everything that has happened. He tells them about his father's murder, the kidnapping, and the threats against his family. Instead of helping, embassy officials dismiss his story. They offer no real assistance and leave him feeling more isolated than ever. As Will exits the embassy, he notices Carrack waiting outside in a car. She claims she wants to help. According to her, Martin trusted her, and she insists they are on the same side. With few options remaining, Will reluctantly gets into the vehicle. At first, the conversation seems normal. Then Carrack begins asking questions. She wants to know everything Martin told him about the briefcase. She asks about his contacts, his plans, and any information he might have shared before he died. The questions immediately raise Will's suspicions. The more Carrack talks, the more convinced he becomes that she cannot be trusted. Thinking quickly, Will pretends to feel sick. Carrack orders the driver to pull over. The moment the vehicle stops, Will throws open the door and escapes into the crowded streets. Within seconds, he disappears into the city. Knowing he cannot survive alone for much longer, Will decides to contact one of Martin's trusted friends, a man named Diego. A meeting is arranged at Diego's office, where Will is told to speak with Diego's niece, Lucia Caldera. When Will arrives, he keeps his guard up. Too many people have lied to him already. Lucia appears nervous, but before either of them can talk for long, one of Carrack's men suddenly arrives. The situation explodes into violence. Will is forced into a fight as Carrack's operative attempts to eliminate him. Lucia unexpectedly joins the struggle, helping Will fight off the attacker. Working together, they eventually overcome him. Breathing heavily after the fight, Will quickly explains everything that has happened. He tells Lucia about the kidnapping, Martin's secret life, the briefcase, and his desperate search for Diego. Although hesitant at first, Lucia agrees to help. Together, they leave the office and head toward Diego's apartment, hoping he may still have answers that can save Will's family. When Will and Lucia arrive at Diego's apartment building, they immediately sense that something is wrong. A few moments later, they discover the reason for the silence. Diego is dead. His body lies inside the apartment, and it is clear that whoever killed him wanted to make sure he could never share whatever information he knew. Lucia is devastated. Then they hear movement. Will follows it and is shocked by what he finds. Jean, Carrack, and Gorman are inside the apartment. The people responsible for Martin's death are standing only a few feet away. Furious, Will points his gun at them and demands answers. Carrack remains calm. She admits that Martin became a problem. According to her, he intended to return the briefcase, and that made him a threat to her plans. Rather than allow him to interfere, she had him eliminated. She then tries to strike a deal. Carrack offers to help. Will find his family if he tells her everything Martin knew about the briefcase and any remaining contacts connected to it. Before Will can respond, Lucia suddenly opens fire. Bullets tear through the rooms as Will and Lucia dive for cover. Carrack and Gorman return fire immediately, forcing them into a desperate escape. The pair race out of the apartment and onto the rooftops. Carrack and Gorman stay right behind them, continuing to shoot as they run across the buildings. Eventually, Will and Lucia reach the edge of a rooftop and realize they are trapped. There is no safe way down. Thinking quickly, Will grabs a rope and secures it around Lucia. Just as she starts descending, Gorman takes aim. The sniper fires. The bullet slams into Will's body. The impact nearly knocks him off the roof, but he refuses to let go of the rope. Fighting through the pain, he continues lowering Lucia towards safety. Below, a passerby notices the situation and helps Lucia reach the ground. Will's strength finally gives out. He loses his grip and falls from the rooftop. Fortunately, the drop is not fatal, and he survives the impact. Lucia quickly reaches him and helps him escape before Carrack and Gorman can finish the job. The chase continues through the city. Will is losing blood rapidly, but there is no time to stop. Carrack remains determined to eliminate them and keeps pursuing them through the crowded streets. At one point, she nearly catches up and even crashes into Lucia's motorcycle, sending them tumbling. A gathering crowd creates enough confusion to block her shot, allowing Will and Lucia to escape once again. Knowing Will will not survive much longer without treatment, Lucia takes him to a nightclub where she knows someone with medical experience. The bullet passed through his shoulder, but he has lost a dangerous amount of blood. With limited medical equipment available, they are forced to cauterize the wound to stop the bleeding. Hours later, he finally wakes up. Weak and exhausted, he finds Lucia sitting nearby with Martin's phone. As they talk, Lucia notices a photograph of Martin. Her expression changes immediately. When Will confirms that Martin is dead, Lucia reveals a secret that completely catches him off guard. She knew Martin under a different name. In Spain, Martin used the alias Tom. Then she reveals something even more shocking. Martin was not only Will's father, he was hers as well. Lucia is Will's half-sister, the daughter Martin had with another woman years earlier. The revelation leaves Will stunned. After everything that has happened, he now learns that his family is even larger and more complicated than he ever imagined. Despite the shock, there is no time to dwell on it. The deadline given by the kidnappers is approaching. Will and Lucia travel toward the location where the briefcase exchange is supposed to take place. As they approach the exchange location, Will is still trying to process everything Lucia has told him. His father had lived a double life, and now he has discovered a half-sister he never knew existed. When they arrive, Will decides to go in alone. Lucia agrees to wait nearby and stay ready in case he needs help. Will carefully enters the meeting area and scans his surroundings. Before long, a man quietly approaches him and tells him to stay calm and follow. With no better option, Will does exactly that. The man leads him to a vehicle, and Will gets inside. The questions start immediately. Will demands to know where his family is, but instead of receiving answers, he is suddenly attacked. The men overpower him, and everything goes black. When Will regains consciousness, he finds himself tied to a chair. The interrogation begins. His captors repeatedly ask about Martin and the briefcase. Will insists that Martin is dead and that he does not know where the briefcase is. Zahir explains that neither he nor his men are ordinary kidnappers. They are Israeli Mossad agents. According to him, the briefcase originally belonged to them and was being used as part of an operation to expose a traitor. Martin interfered and took it, setting off the chain of events that followed. As Zahir explains what happened, another important detail becomes clear. Carrack has manipulated almost everyone involved. Martin was not working against his own people. Instead, Carrack framed him while secretly keeping the briefcase for herself. Because of that, Zahir no longer believes Martin was the real enemy. What he wants now is Carrack. To prove that his family is still alive, Zahir briefly allows Will to see them. Though exhausted and frightened, Lori, Josh, and Dara are alive. The sight gives Will renewed determination. Zahir then presents him with a plan. Since Carrack still has the briefcase, Will must help draw her out into the open. If they can force her to reveal herself, Zahir believes they can recover the briefcase and finally end the situation. With little choice, Will agrees. Afterward, Zahir releases him. Will immediately returns to Lucia at the nightclub and tells her everything he learned. Together, they begin working on a way to lure Carrack into revealing her location. Lucia comes up with an idea. Lucia starts a tab at the nightclub with her credit card. The transaction creates a trail that Carrack may notice and investigate. The plan works faster than expected. Not long afterward, Gorman appears at the club. The club owner and several of his associates recognize him and move to intercept him. A violent fight breaks out inside the nightclub. Gorman proves to be extremely dangerous, but the combined effort of the others eventually overwhelms him. They manage to subdue him and drag him into a back room. Will questions him about Carrack and the briefcase. Gorman refuses to answer. No matter what they do, he remains silent. Realizing brute force will not work, Will comes up with a different approach. Instead of keeping Gorman captive, they intentionally allow him an opportunity to escape. If Gorman believes he has gotten away, he will lead them directly to Carrack. The gamble works. Gorman eventually breaks free and flees the nightclub. He steals a vehicle and speeds away through the city. Waiting outside, Lucia is ready. Will immediately begins following him. Neither Gorman nor Carrack realizes that Will and Lucia are now tracking their every move. The chase eventually leads them to an underground parking garage. Knowing they may finally be close to the briefcase, Will tells Lucia to stay alert and quietly follows the suspects inside. Inside the underground parking garage, Will watches from a distance as Karak meets with a group of buyers. The briefcase is finally within reach. For a moment, it looks as though Karak is about to complete the sale and disappear. Then, everything falls apart. Zahir and his Mossad agents suddenly move in and surround the area. Their plan is to capture Karak and recover the briefcase before the exchange can be completed. Unfortunately, their presence is revealed too early. As some of Zahir's men attempt to contain Will, they give away their positions. Karak immediately realizes she has been set up. She opens fire. Gorman joins her, and together they shoot several of the buyers before turning their weapons on the Mossad agents. The parking garage erupts into a full-scale gun battle. Bullets fly in every direction as people scramble for cover. In the middle of the chaos, Gorman grabs the briefcase and jumps into a car, attempting to escape. Will seize his chance. Determined to recover the briefcase, he chases the vehicle on foot and manages to leap into the car. A violent struggle begins inside the moving vehicle as Will and Gorman fight over control of the briefcase. Then, everything happens at once. As the struggle intensifies, Lucia drives directly into the path of the vehicle. Her car slams into it with tremendous force. The collision sends the vehicles crashing apart. Gorman suffers fatal injuries in the wreck and dies. The briefcase slips from his grasp and lands several feet away. Before he can recover it, Karak rushes in. Furious and desperate, she grabs the briefcase and escapes. Will and Lucia are forced to continue the pursuit. The chase tears through the streets of Madrid. Karak drives with complete disregard for anyone around her, leaving destruction in her wake. Vehicles crash, pedestrians scatter, and entire sections of traffic descend into chaos as she tries to stay ahead. Will and Lucia refuse to give up. They pursue her through crowded roads, narrow streets, and busy intersections, staying as close as possible despite the danger. Eventually, the chase reaches its breaking point. The vehicles collide violently. The crash leaves Lucia seriously injured. Will barely manages to crawl from the wreckage as Karak emerges with the briefcase still in her possession. She raises her weapon and prepares to kill him. At that exact moment, a single rifle shot echoes across the area. Karak is struck and killed instantly. The shot came from Zahir. From a distance, he had been tracking the situation and finally found a clear shot. With Karak dead, the fight is over. Zahir retrieves the briefcase and fulfills his promise. Lori, Josh, and Dara are released unharmed. For the first time since the nightmare began, Will's family is safe. In the aftermath, Lucia is taken to the hospital to recover from her injuries. Later, Will stands beside his reunited family and looks at Lucia as well. After everything they have endured together, he realizes that his family is larger than he ever knew. Not long afterward, Will is approached with an unexpected offer. Because of everything he accomplished and the courage he displayed throughout the ordeal, he is offered a position with the CIA. After learning the truth about his father and witnessing the dangerous world he secretly inhabited, the offer leaves Will with a difficult decision. The story ends without revealing his answer. Well, that's the end of this story. How did you like the recap of the 2012 film, The Cold Light of Day? Let me know in the comments below.